Greetings. I decided to let Ooh, let Lavo come and say hello. She hasn't seen you guys, I think, since we moved. And for the topic today, I just think seeing her is extra appropriate. And this topic is so important that I had to go make me a few little quick notes. Y'all know that I be going off my thoughts, but this time I had to make some notes because I didn't want to leave anything out. But Laveau is greeting you guys. See how she's growing so nicely. Today is her feeding day, so see her sniffing around. She is like, I know this woman don't have me out here with no mouse. She's like, ma'am, you know, if I'm out, you need to be defrosting my mouse. That's literally what she's saying. That's why she's coming to look me dead in my eyes and tell me, you right, mama. As soon as I finish this, I'm going to defrost your mouse, okay? And I'm going to feed you. So she just wanted to greet everybody. Yes, she is beautiful and she is powerful. And this is one of our animal guardian spirits. This is our ancestral animal guardian spirit. And as descendants of Western Central Africa and of the Americas, we should be creating relationships with serpentine beings. This is our birthright, to have this magic, to have this spiritual connection, to have this communication. So we should be creating these relationships. It is being westernized that has made us fear these beings. But our ancestors knew that these beings have so much to teach us. And they have so much love to share with us and so much spiritual power. So this is our birthright. Our connection with our serpents is our birthright. All right, I'm going to put her back away. I just wanted her to say hi. But because she's hungry, she's not going to sit still and let me just speak. So let me put her up and then we'll speak. All right, mama. I have you as soon as I'm finished with this, okay? No, don't try to give me a hug now. Don't try to give me a hug. You could have been hugging me all that time. Not you trying not to go back in your house. Mama. Look up. No, ma'am. Absolutely not, mama. Absolutely not. As soon as I'm done, I guarantee you, I assure you, you will be eating. All right? I wish I could have recorded all of that for you guys because I'm steady trying to put her back in her cage and she's steady coming back out. She is not, she's ready to eat. Let me wash my hands. All right. But I wanted to start with Laveau because having that kind of relationship is essential to life. Understanding our connection with other beings and our relationship with other kinds of beings on Earth, Mother Onile, is essential to life. My goddaughter's got me a beautiful serpentine mug. When we were down in Oyatunji for the last rites. Well, one of the things that I have been noticing, I'm going to say for the last couple of months, that I knew I wanted to speak about, I knew I wanted to create a video about, is how Western science is just a tool that is used to co opt the magic of Black women. Western science is a tool that is used to co opt and to take credit for the magic of Black women. Now, don't misunderstand me when I use the term Black. I'm using it on purpose. Everyone Black does not come out of Africa. All Black and brown people do not come out of Africa, except in so much as all humans come out of Africa. But Black and brown people come from all over the globe. Black and brown people are the global majority. Black and brown people are the global default, right? On this planet, the default is Black and brown people. We are the global majority. So I mean what I say precisely when I say Western science is the co-opting of the magic of Black and brown women. Western science is a system created to take credit for the magic of Black and brown women. And one of the things that they did, you've heard me recommend this book before. And if you've taken my classes, you've heard me tell this story before. But when Cristobal Colon first was lost at sea and was discovered by Black and brown people off the coast of the Americas and was rescued by Black and brown people, and then began the horrible systemic chaos, the horrible systemic, what would we call it? There's a word for it. Apocalypse. Created the horrible systemic apocalypse that became the Western world. When Cristobal Colon did that, I want to say it was in Hispaniola, but I may be wrong. But on one of the first places that he landed and began this horrible apocalypse, they put laws in place to put down the speaking of Black and brown women. They put laws in place to curtail the wisdom and the voices and the thoughts and the literal dreams of Black and brown women. Laws were put into place against Black and brown women speaking, Black and brown women sharing their dreams, Black and brown women sharing their opinions and their wisdom. Literal laws were put into place. So if you read the book, The History of the World in 7 Cheap Things, I recommend it all the time. And there is a chapter called Cheap Labor. And it speaks of how the subjugation of women and even the creation of the construct that is called women is part and parcel of capitalism, patriarchy, and what I call from my sister. I don't forgot her name, but let me go. I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna give her citation. But hold on. I can always remember the book, Venus in the Dark. Janelle Hobson. Janelle Hobson coined the phrase that explains it the best. Global white masculinist imperialism. So in this place where according to the history of the world and seven cheap things, global white masculinist imperialism was being set into place. And they're explaining to you in the book how the subjugation of women, Black and brown women in particular, and how capitalism and how all of these systems came into place. And so women's subjugation and the creation of the construct of women is a foundation of that. One of the stories that they told comes from one of the colonizers' journals. And he told the story of an indigenous woman who was called a witch because she told her dream. She got up one morning and she told her dream to a group of people. And she said that in this dream, she was talking to a horse, and the horse was explaining to her the actual natural order of things. And she was saying that the natural order of things was one in which all living beings should work together, right? And this was what her dream had showed her. She was sharing it in an open space, and she was hanged for sharing this dream. Why was that done? Why was the wisdom of Black and brown women suppressed? And why is it still suppressed? Why were the words of Black and brown women ridiculed? And why are they still ridiculed? Because what we were saying and what we always are saying holds the magic. It holds the magic. We are very rarely wrong. We are very rarely incorrect. But what happens is if you listen to it and you record it and you keep it for yourself and then you suppress us, keep us from saying it, then you can pop out at some point and pretend that it was your idea. We were just talking about Cristobal Colon. What made Cristobal Colon decide that he could circumnavigate the earth? It was the wisdom of Black and brown women that had ruled Spain for centuries. That was what made him decide that. That was how he knew that. He did not just come up with it. That isn't even how science works. Even if you don't believe it's magic, even if you believe it's science, that isn't even how science works. You don't just sit and come up with something, bing, an idea pops into your head. That is a Western Abrahamic way of looking at things that pretends that's what happens. Any great idea that you've had, any great idea that you're using now to guide your life, the beginning of it, the epiphany part of it, pinged into your head. But you sat, you studied upon it, you experimented with it, you looked around and paid attention to the cause and effect of it. It doesn't just ping and you share it. But that's what they would have us believe. Cristobal Colon was sitting around in the dark ages of Europe and ping, he had an idea that he was going to circumnavigate the earth. That is bullshit. The thing that caused Cristobal Colon to try to circumnavigate the earth was the fact that Africans, using the wisdom of Black and brown women who created mathematics and astronomy and astrology and therefore navigation, had been circumnavigating the globe for centuries, which is how they came to be the rulers of ancient Spain. You can look that up. You can Google it. Not going to argue it. It's my channel. If you want to argue it, please go and do it on your channel. That's the beginning. But they then suppressed the Africans that were in their society, and they took that wisdom and said that it was their idea. Right? That's the beginning of what happened. That's how all of this started on this side of the world that I now happen to be living on. And so that continued to be their policy. We will take the magic of Black and brown women and we'll suppress them and we'll keep them from speaking about it, and or we'll ridicule them to the point that when they do say something, no one will listen, and then we will call it our own. So I'm going to tell you, for many, 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 many years, the only That is not true. I already did this. I'm sorry. Work is sending me an email. For many years, the only magical parts of Black and brown women's wisdom that they shared were those parts that they could make look more scientific in that moment. When Cristobal Colon first said he could circumnavigate the earth, the rest of Europe thought that that was some magical hocus pocus. They thought that was ridiculous. They thought that was foolishness. So it did not sound scientific at the time. When Sir Isaac Newton first spoke of gravity, hocus pocus, foolishness, ridiculousness, magic, it didn't sound scientific at the time. But once, through the age of enlightenment, they set up a code of standards that allowed them to say if things follow this code, they are scientific. After that, they began to share little bits of Black and brown women's magic and call it science. Because during the age of enlightenment, they set up a code that said if it follows this code and if it is approved by this group, it is science. The group consisted of whom? Please look it up. Please look up who were the leaders of the age of enlightenment. I will tell you that two of them were arch rapists and arch predators, that being Benjamin Franklin and, of course, Thomas Jefferson, right? These were two of the people that set up the codes and the standards for the age of enlightenment. And even unto this day, in the scientific world and in the academic world, you have to have the approval of that code for your information to be taken seriously. So I hope what I'm saying is clear. They stole the magic from Black and brown women. And they said, we want to re-disseminate this information and act as if it is coming from us. We want to act as if we have big brains that would just, oh, that's somebody's child outside. I thought that was my child. We want to act as if we have big brains that are just coming up with these things, right? When in actuality, they were stealing the wisdom of Black and brown women that we had taken centuries to study upon, to experiment with, to interact with. We had learned these things across lifetimes because one of the beauties of being us is that we stay connected with ourselves across lifetimes. But they wanted to pretend as if ping, it popped into their brain. So then they created these standards. And if what you're saying doesn't meet the standards of these horrible old predatory white men, then they say that's not science and we're not going to take it seriously. But notice that the age of enlightenment began at the same time as colonialization and the mass enslavement of Africans. Notice that. That was the same time frame. So, what I see happening these days and what I've been watching happening over my lifetime, but here lately I've started taking note of it every time I see it, is that that same thing that your grandmother and your mother told you, and that white folks and that science and that medicine and that psychology dismissed as nonsense, now they're coming back around and saying, oh, we did a study and found out it was true. When I was a little girl, round about this time of year, when the temperature started to get lower, when the days started to get shorter, your grandmother and your mother would begin to prepare. They would prepare up your pantry. They would have been canning foods all over the summer. But as it begins to get colder, they would also begin to buy more dried goods and making sure that your pantry was stored up. But as a child, they would also prepare your body and they would do your clean out, right? They would give you some sort of laxative herb that would clean your system out and prepare you for the coming winter months. In addition to that, they would make sure that you had soft and warm clothing. They would bring the quilts out of the closet. They would create a cozy space for you in the home, right? And they would begin to cook heavier foods and things that would put you in a restful state. because my mother and my grandmother knew that as the seasons changed and as the days grew shorter and as the temperature grew colder, your body and your mind and your emotional state could be thrown into a type of trauma, could be thrown into a type of depression. My grandmother and my mother knew that. So they prepared your body for it. They prepared the house for it. They made the house a nice little warm little nook. That wasn't what it was in the summertime. But in the fall and the winter, you had your quilts, you had your blankets. Your grandmother had crocheted beautiful blankets that she would bring out in the fall and lay across the couch so that when you were sitting on the couch, you could wrap up in a beautiful blanket, right? They're going to crank the heat up. They're going to cook heavier food. All of this to mitigate the natural way that your body may fall into a trauma or depressive state due to the way that Earth Mother Onile was moving through the cosmos, the change of the seasons. My mothers and our grandmothers used to do that. And they said, it's raining a lot. It's cold. It's normal not to feel yourself. And that was ridiculed. That's an old wives' tale. Get up and go to work anyway. You can still work just as many hours. We're going to create daylight savings time so we can force you to actually work more hours, even though this time has you feeling low, has you feeling like you need to rest more, has you feeling like you need to slow down. That's what science said about what my mothers and grandmothers taught me when I was little. Then they came along and they said, we did a study. And now we know that it's a such thing as a seasonal depressive disorder. Really? The same thing that my mom and grandma was talking about? They didn't call it that. But they raised me knowing the same thing. And y'all ridiculed it. And now y'all did a study and now it's a thing? Right? This is what they do about everything. Our ancestral mothers taught us to keep our hearts light. They said it is the responsibility of each person to keep your heart as light as a feather. The goddess Ma'at was the creatrix of the law of the universe, the Ethiopian Kemetic goddess. She created the laws that guide the universe. And a feather was upon her head. And they said, keep your heart as light as that feather so that you can attract good to you. Your heart is what attracts things to you. So if you let your heart become heavy, if you let your heart become closed, if you let your heart remain broken, you can't attract good to you. That's what our ancestral mothers said. And what did science say? What did psychology say? What did the enlightened old white men say? That is ridiculous. That is old wives' tales. It is not your heart and your thought process and your mental state that attracts things to you. It's the circumstances of your life, which you have no control over. That is hocus pocus. That is new age nonsense. That is ridiculous. That's what they said about this millennia old wisdom that our ancestral mothers shared with us. And now, here recently, they turn around and say, we did a study and we have a discovery. I'm going to read it word for word what this study said. The heart is a magnetic field that creates magnetism around your body 3 feet out. That sounds so familiar. Does it sound like what our ancestral mothers called your aura? And that they were always making fun of and always saying wasn't real? But now they're saying the heart has a magnetic field that radiates out 3 feet from your body and draws things to you. They said your heart is one of the biggest magnets, a literal magnet, a literal drawing force. They did a study and just realized this in 2024. Wow. Nobody has ever known this before this study that we just now did. Right? Okay. Our indigenous ancestral mothers, our Mayan, our Aztec, our Inca, our Lakota, our Dakota, our Nakota, our Kituwa, our Ojibwa, our Nangaraset, our Blackfoot, our Seminole ancestors, our Taino, our Kalinago, our Carib ancestors told these people from the time that they stepped foot on this land that the trees are the standing people. The trees move, the trees walk. They just do it much more slowly. They said the trees talk. They talk to us and they talk to each other, and they do it underground. This is what our Black and brown indigenous ancestral mothers told these people when they got on these shores. So they said, don't cut a tree down. That causes great pain throughout the forest and to that tree that you're cutting down. The tree is a standing person that can move, that can walk. It just does it more slowly than you. That's what they told these people. And what did these people say? That's ridiculous. Trees aren't sentient beings. Trees are inanimate objects. Trees are not beings that have a mind, that can think, that can speak, that can communicate. That's what these people told our ancestral mothers. And now what happened? We did a study just now, around about 2019, 2017 or so. And we discovered this stuff called mycelium. And through mycelium, trees are talking to each other under the ground. And they're communicating with each other. And this tree is bringing something to this tree that it needs because it doesn't want that tree to die. And that tree's way of thanking the other tree is giving it something that it needs. So not only are they talking and communicating, but they're in an interdependent network with each other. They are a community. Wow, we just discovered this. Nobody ever knew this before us. This is literally what our ancestral mothers told you when you got to these shores. This is literally why we pleaded with you not to cut these trees down. But now you're going to turn around, you're going to flip around 3 or 4 times, and you're going to feed this back to us like it's some great scientific knowledge that you just discovered? Bullshit. Our ancestral mothers told them when they first encountered them, stop mass destroying big old pieces of forest. Stop killing animals and plants and making things go extinct. Anytime you cut down a huge, massive area of forest, it's going to hurt all of us. It's going to have repercussions all over the earth because we are an interconnected and interdependent cosmic system. So if you go out here and you cut down thousands of trees, more than anybody has a use for, because were our ancestors using trees to create their homes? They were. Did they have to cut trees down sometime from time to time? Yes. Were they eating animals? They were all eating animals. Did they have to kill animals to eat them? Of course they did. They weren't eating them alive. But were they going out and killing thousands of animals? For what? There's no reason to kill thousands of animals. There's no reason that freezers in grocery stores should be full of chicken. Nobody's ever going to eat that much chicken. Nobody's ever going to eat that much beef. Nobody's ever going to eat that much pork, which is why it just sits there and goes to waste. So our ancestors, as they saw the wasteful way that this global white masculine imperialism was raping the earth, just raping Earth Mother Onile, just taking from her for no reason other than greed, because nobody can eat that much. Nobody needs that much. And we warned them. And we said, if you cut down all that many trees in the forest, that's going to have repercussions throughout the earth. If you kill that many buffalo, that's going to have repercussions throughout the earth. We are all going to suffer. It is like you are cutting off our fingers from our hands. We are going to suffer if you continue to do that. And what did they say? They're saying this now in the Amazon rainforest right now. Those big companies are still not stopping cutting those trees down and raping Earth Mother Onile. And they're saying this is not connected to that. This doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the world. This only has something to do with this space where it is. It's not connected to us. Cutting down 1,000,000 trees is not going to hurt me. Cutting down 1,000,000 trees is not going to affect me. I don't even live in the Amazon. I live way over here in France. So this shit is not going to affect me. What are you talking about? Hush, indigenous mothers. Get out of my way. 2024. We did a study. And now we have come upon the discovery that what is causing, one of the things that is causing all of these terrible hurricanes is that we are exacerbating the greenhouse effect by how many trees we cut down in the Amazon. We didn't know that. Nobody had ever said that before us, but now we've discovered it. We did a study and we realized that when cows are held up in a pen and they have to use the bathroom and eat just in this one area, that affects not just the grass and not just the earth, but because it affects the grass and the earth, it affects the whole atmosphere. And so it's fucking up the ozone layer that we need to live. Nobody ever said this. Nobody ever told us this. We just discovered it. Right? Constantly what is happening. Right? Our ancestral mothers told us when we were little. My mother and my grandmother told us when we were little. If you're not feeling good, if you're feeling sad, or if you're actually feeling sick, if you're actually feeling ill, physically ill, they would make you get some sun. They didn't care how cold it was. My grandmother would, if everybody in the house got sick, baby, she was going to open those windows and let that cold come in. Because she said in order to be well, mentally and physically, you needed fresh air. They're going to make you go sit out on that porch. They don't care how cold it is. Because they said in order to be well, you need sunlight. When it's time for you to eat something, they're going to fix a little bit of what you like. But the majority of what's going to be on your plate is going to be fruits and vegetables. Because my grandmama and them said that you need sunlight, you need fresh air, and you need fruits and vegetables to be mentally well and to be physically well. And they said you got to drink plenty water. As a child, I was never allowed to drink anything but water and milk. Now, back in those days, some lies had been forcibly placed in the Black community. My mother told me about how the Nestle company would come into the Black community and they sold them the lie that we needed cow's milk to be well. And so I was never allowed to drink anything until I got to be like 12 or 13 years old besides milk and water. And if you were sick, they weren't going to give you no milk. You was going to drink water, or they might, if they had the money, go and get you some orange juice, because fruits didn't grow in the place where I'm from. So they couldn't just go get you an orange. But if an orange was available in the grocery store, they were going to go get you that. If they couldn't get it, they was going to make you drink some orange juice. So when you felt down, mentally, emotionally, and physically, my mother and my grandmothers taught me sunlight, fresh air, water, fruits, and vegetables. They said that's how you keep good emotional and physical health. In the 2000s, we realized that a healthy gut biome is necessary for healthy emotional health. We just discovered this. Nobody has ever said this before. We did a study and ping, it came into our minds. And now we know that that is true. Right? These things are happening all the time. Our grandmothers and our mothers said, get up out of that bed, go and walk, go and run and play, go outside, spend some time with your friends, get up and move around. If we had all been sitting in the house because it was cold and it was wintertime, your mother would say, come on, we're going to get out and go walk around out in this cold. Wrap up, put on your gloves and your scarf and your 2 or 3 shirts and your hat and your earmuffs, and come on, we're going to walk around a little bit out here in this cold. If we just keep sitting and don't move our bodies, we are going to start feeling bad. So let's get up and go walk around even though it's cold. And they would find some fun activity for you to do. And we would have to walk around and we would have to move our bodies. As our grandmothers and our mothers got to be older, they would get up in the morning and do all kind of stretches. I would watch my grandmothers and my mother do all kind of stretches with their body. Now they didn't have no fancy names for it. It wasn't yoga, it wasn't Pilates, it wasn't nothing like that. It was, I got to stretch so I don't get old. That's what they would say when you came and found them down on the ground stretching their bodies. Oh, baby, this gonna keep me from getting old. This gonna keep me young like you. And they would laugh. But what they meant was that was going to keep their bodies supple. What they meant is that was going to keep their minds alert. What they meant was that was going to allow energy in their body not to be stagnant, but keep energy in their body moving and coming in and out as energy should. Now, you got to stretch and move your body to keep your joints supple. We did a study and we realized that if you stretch and move your body, it keeps your brain active. It keeps your body supple. It helps you stay in better health overall. It helps to mitigate menopause. It helps to make family relations better. It helps marriages stay together longer. It helps friendships stay together longer. All of this shit that our mothers and grandmothers told us. So I take note of it now. That's why I got my notes right here. Because every time I see it, I add it to this particular list that I have of how many times I'm online or in a class or reading an article or doing something, and white men claim to have discovered something that they ridiculed our ancestral mothers for trying to teach them for centuries. So now that we are way this far away from when they first colonized this place, now they can bring out the real magical things like trees talking to each other under the ground. Now they can bring that out. But our ancestral mothers told them that centuries ago, millennia ago. Now they can bring out the fact that if you destroy something in the Amazon rainforest, it's going to affect the whole globe. Now they can bring out the stuff that sounds really magical and attribute it to scientific learning. Right? Now they can bring out, you've got to eat properly to keep your emotional health properly. Your gut biome is what determines your emotional health, whether or not you're depressed, whether or not you're happy, whether or not you feel motivated. It's your gut biome that determines that. Now they can bring that out because they're far removed from that first step on this land with indigenous people, led by indigenous women, Black and brown women, telling them these things and saying, this is the magic of life. This is how life works. This is how existence works. This is how all things are interconnected. And you must interact with everything from that perspective of interconnection, or you're going to hurt yourself. Our ancestral mothers told them that centuries ago. But now that they're far removed, they can sit up and pretend, oh, I discovered it. They're going to put somebody else's name on it. You know that's what they're going to do. They put Einstein's name on the theory of relativity. We know that came from the ancestral mothers somewhere. They put Pythagoras' name on the Pythagorean theorem. We know that it was the ancestral mothers that created mathematics. Look up the Ishangi stone. The Ishangi bone, sorry, it's the first mathematical tool created by Black women, right? But they're going to a Pythagorean theorem. They're going to say, what is his name? Hippocrates. They're going to call him the father of medicine. When the first doctor documented and written down was Merit Ptah, a Black woman from Sudan in Kemet. First doctor was her. So as they get further away from the actual source, they can begin to say the more magical pieces of it. But when they first got here, they could only say those few little things. But now they feel like they're far enough away from it that the rest of us have forgotten that this was the wisdom of our mothers. This was how our mother raised us. Our mother told us if you don't eat properly, you're going to get sick and you're going to be depressed. Our mother told us if you don't get enough sunshine and enough fresh air, you're not going to feel good. Our mother told us, get up out of that bed and walk around. Get up and do something now. You can't sit here and read them books all day. You can't sit here and look at TV all day. Get on up and do something. Our mother told us, be kind to Brother Frog and Brother Squirrel and Brother Snake and Brother Turtle. These are all your brothers in this existence, right? In this kinship circle that we're living in. Our mothers taught us that. Don't throw trash on the ground. The ground is alive. The earth is alive, right? Our mothers taught us that. We were raised with this. And now this information is popping back up. Vegan food. When the Rasta mothers of old created ITAL. But now we got vegan food, plant-based diet. The Rasta mothers of old created ITAL. Y'all did not come up with that. Right? Attachment parenting. When we've been sleeping in the beds with our mamas. Because mama said, I'm not going to put my baby way on down that hall in another room and she's newborn. She just done got here to the world. She's not used to being away from me. That's what my mama used to say. Why would I put her way on down the hall in another room where she can't hear me, she can't smell me, she can't feel me? But now we got attachment parenting. Gentle parenting. Everybody's grandmama said, don't talk to that baby like that. Talk sweet to that baby. She don't understand what's going on with y'all grown people. Everybody's grandmama said that. Everybody's grandmama. Speak sweet to that baby. Be kind to that baby. She's new here. She does not understand what's going on. But now it's gentle parenting. Right? Pay attention as new things crop up, as new discoveries are made, as scientists come and say, aha, I had an epiphany in my sleep, and now I know what we need to be doing. Pay attention and look and see, because I always look and see. Is this something that my grandmama and them had been doing? And every time without fail, my answer is yes. I was raised doing this. My grandmama and them made me do this as a child. I veered away from it as I got into academia because I too believed, that's just a superstition. Those are just old wives' tales. That doesn't have any scientific basis. And now these same scientists that was writing books and putting out articles telling me not to do this and not to pay attention to this are now writing articles about how it's true. Pay attention, right? The science of the European world, the science of the Western world is the co-opting and taking credit for the magical wisdom of Black and brown women. Pay attention. And when you pay attention, it will help you to feel more comfortable in your own wisdom. It will help you to understand your own connection with the environment and how the environment is speaking to you, how the trees are speaking to you, how the earth is speaking to you, how the grass and the herbs and the beings around you are speaking to you. Pay attention so that you can comfortably take your place at the helm of human society, which is where we have always been, because we are the birthers of it. We gave birth to it. We are the mothers of it. Pay attention. Don't fall down into the trap of throwing out the wisdom of your mothers and your grandmothers and then lose that connection and have to come back to it, right? Don't fall down into the trap. Science is merely the thieving of our magical wisdom. Never forget it. The magic of our ancestral mothers, the magic that they were ridiculed for, is being repackaged as European discoveries, and no credit is being given to our mothers. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Give our mothers the credit. Now, it just so happens that in addition to that book recommendation, The History of the World and Seven Cheap Things, I have a class that I taught called The Architects of Existence. And in this class, I discuss how Black women were at the helm of every gigantic human discovery and event. And I lay it out over 4 classes. It is 4 hours worth of information. The link to purchase the class is in the description. If you are interested in hearing more, if you are interested in learning more, and I will put a link to purchase the book through my Amazon store in the description as well. The History of the World in 7 Cheap Things, and the Architects of Existence course that I have already taught. All right. Ecstasy, abundance, and bliss. Y'all know what I'm about to do. I got to thaw out mice. That's what I'm finna do for the next 2 hours. That's how long it take the mice to thaw out. Ecstasy, abundance, and bliss to all of those within the sound of my voice who are wishing the same for me and mine. And as always, we wish the lessons of life on those who are ignorant enough to wish us otherwise. Hold on, I'm gonna scroll up and down. You know what's funny? After I called those trolls out so tough yesterday, not one of them is in the comments today. They quiet. They quiet today because I called their old raggedy asses out so tough yesterday. I called them out for exactly who they are. And so now they sitting quiet. We know they still in there, but they ain't saying shit. Love to see it. Love to see a little correction. A little snatching was what was needed in that moment. All right. Please take the class if you would like to have more and what would we call it? An academic deep dive into our ancestral mothers being at the helm of every human discovery and every large human event that has taken place. And please get the book as well to get more information on how global masculine imperialism was set up and how we are still being ruled and harmed by it today. All right. No, I do not talk about Montessori history. It's not a course on education. It is a course on actual historical happenings. So I start with the Abrahamic traditions, and then I go into the discovery of the Americas. I go into the creation of the plantocracy here in this North American area, and even up until the New World. Our own systems to educate our children. I wrote about that in my book called Raising Revolutionaries. So if you are interested in how to properly educate Black and Brown children, I do have a book on that. Raising Revolutionaries. It is what I used. I give the methods that I use to raise my 6 children and how they are able to excel in this world and with each other in their relationships with each other and with other people. So, Raising Revolutionary, if you're interested in the educational part. But if you are an educator for your children or for other people, I do also highly recommend this course, The Architects of Existence. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.